So I thought I'd get on here and break down exactly how pushing this Afftra agenda for $1 a mile or $5 a mile ends up hurting consumers. It hurts ourselves and it hurts the trucking industry as a whole. Right now, the GDP is about 31 trillion, and roughly 22 trillion of that gets moved by a truck. And we've got about 2 million truck drivers, and they drive roughly about 300 billion miles a year. And according to the ATRI, at the 2024, it was about 227 a mile to operate a truck. Now, if the average driver earns about 72,000 a year, which works out to being about 48 cents a mile, when you include benefits, that labor cost is currently about 25% of the total operating cost of a carrier. Now, here's where the problem starts, okay? If the driver pay is pushed to $1 a mile, wages jump from roughly about 144 billion to about $300 billion annually, which is about 108% increase in driver wages. So if you're going to try to keep your same labor at that 25% share of operating cost, the total cost per mile is going to go from 227 to 440, which there's that $5. That's a 94% increase in operating cost. And we also know, based on industry data, that about 10% of the cost of the goods today is transportation related. Now, when you take the trucking cost, which nearly double, and that transportation share rises to about 19% of the total cost of goods. Now, that means that cost of goods increases by roughly 9% before we even talk about compounding it through the supply chain. And that's the key point. That 9% increase doesn't just happen once. It happens at every step of the supply chain. There's a 9% increase to deliver fuel to the farm. Another 9% increase to move the product from the farm to the factory. And then another one to go from the factory to the distributor. So there's another 9%. And then another 9% to move the goods from the distribution center to the store, which is where the consumer gets hit. And by the time that all gets hit, they're getting hit with 36% increase in price. And yes, that cost is going to hit the consumer. Shippers, manufacturers, distributors, they don't care. They're not going to absorb those losses any more than we are expected to absorb losses. That's the thing I hear everybody talk about. I'm tired of absorbing losses. Well, you think the shippers and stuff are going to absorb? No, they're not. They're going to get passed down every time to the consumer, every single time. Now think about that, what that means for people on fixed incomes. Your parents, your grandparents, loved ones on disability, retirees, or the single moms out there just trying to keep food on the table. You know, I think for a family of 3 or 4 right now, the average grocery bill is around $1,000 a month. And a 36% increase, that's going to add another $360 a month just to eat. Just to eat. A gallon of milk that was $3 now goes to $4. The same goes for eggs and bread and meat and every other canned goods. It's because it's all on trucks. And every step of the process, that adds cost. And it all lands on the consumer. We're consumers. So tell me how any of this helps us truck drivers. Because when the prices spike, it's not going to be labeled policy failure. It's going to be labeled transportation cost increases. And we already have a black eye in the public's mind. And that's just going to make it worse. So now that I've proven that the $5 a mile and $1 a mile is going to increase, and y'all have seen how it's going to hurt the consumer, which we're consumers, no different than we're truck drivers and carriers. So how and why would you want to support this? I have to ask why anybody is behind this. And if you are supporting it, you're definitely not for the communities you live in. You're definitely not for other truck drivers. You're not even for yourself, because that 36% is going to get in your pocket. Not to mention the tax ramifications that are going to come to the company drivers that go from that $72,000 average to over $150,000 average. You're going to see almost, what is it? It's like an 85 to 90% increase in your tax bill. Because you're going to go, like I've said in other videos, you're going to go from about $23,000 to $40,000 on your tax bill. So that means you're going to be paying, you're going to get a raise, but you're going to lose a whole bunch more money. So that $150,000, you're only going to maybe bring $110,000. But then when a 36% increase comes from the inflationary ramifications of that dollar a mile, you're going to lose a third of that. So now, because 36% is a little bit above a third, so you go to 110, so now you just lost $33,000 off of that because the prices are going to go up. So now you're down to $80,000. And for what? To put the money in the shipper's pocket? To put the money in the government's pocket? Because company drivers don't have write-offs like carriers do. So anybody that's over here supporting this, please, come prove me wrong. I'm waiting. Have a good day, y'all. Just something to think about.